Look at us. We are a vision in pastel.
We are. You seem to be picking up my pink.
Yeah. We've teamed with a theme. Right, anyway. Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Simon of Savage Reads and today I'm back with my mum.
Hello.
And this is the first of our second, it's the first of the second part of our Women's Prize winners. And us reading them all in the order. Every time. Basically, me and Mum have read all of the Women's Prize winners, and this is the first of the final three. It's too difficult to say.
Just, you can't do the maths, can you?
No, we've already read 12. This is going to be 13 to 16. It's going really well. So, anyway, but I think this, sort of the next two videos particularly, are going to be really interesting because I read most of these when they came out. Right. Apart from a couple that I didn't like and one that I had just never got around to. But they're also in the second video that we'll do because I'm not going to lie, we've already filled the final four. Yeah, these are the ones where I feel like I know them less. And I remember last time with the last sort of 12, it was that you felt you knew them less because you'd read them when they came out. I think that's quite interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I don't know why that is.
No, who knows? So we'll go through the 13th to 16th winners. And the 13th winner, unlucky for some but lucky for her, was Rose Tremain's The Road Home, which, is this one of your favourite books?
Yes, it is. It's one of my favourite books of all time. I'm giving that away right now. I think Rose Tremain is the most fantastically accomplished writer, and what I love about her is that every single novel is radically different from every other one.
Yeah.
And this book, I remember, blew my mind. And I think, for me, it's the sort of book that you wish every young person in this country could read. In fact, everybody in this country could read, because it forces you to think about the subject of migration, immigration into this country. And it focuses on Lev, who is a Polish immigrant.
Eastern European, they just say. Right, they don't give anything specific.
Polish. And yeah, he comes over to Britain, and I suppose, when was the novel published?
It came out it went in 2008, so it might have come out in 2006 or 2007.
Yeah, so I mean, it was certainly a contemporary issue at the time.
Still is.
Still is, very much so, but particularly Eastern European immigrants at that stage in our history. And I don't know how she does it, but she manages to look at British society through the eyes of this Eastern European man for whom I felt tremendous sympathy.
Well, you do doubly, don't you? Because he's come to a country that he doesn't know. He's trying to make a life for his young daughter that he's left back in his homeland. He's also a widow. And I thought this book was incredible because it really takes you into sort of the scenes of where immigrants have come and where they end up working, and you follow his life. Yeah. There was only one element of this book that I wasn't a fan of, and that is there's a sort of sexual incident involving Lev that really jarred with me and made me not such a fan of him, and that kind of stayed with me and bothered me for quite a long time. And it's all about communication issues and all that kind of stuff, but it just grated a little bit. Other than that, I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I as I say, I think that she, in some ways, I'm surprised she hasn't won the prize more than once. I mean, Music and Silence.
I've not read that one.
Oh, it's stunning. I mean, it's a historical novel. It's set in Scandinavia, and it's about a lutist. I think he's a lutenist.
It's up there on my shelf.
And it's just stunning. But then all her novels are.
Yeah, they are, and she has a new one out soon, which, or it might be out by the time this goes live actually, which means she'll be eligible for the 26th Women's Prize.
I suspect as well that she's somebody who we read in common and both became fans of at a similar
time. I didn't know. You were a fan of her way before me. It was Graham that got me into it. She got me to read Trespass.
Ah, yes.
Which has kind of got that mystery, dark element to it.
It's very claustrophobic.
And it just got me in, and that was it. And then I was kind of hooked. So, but I came to her a bit later, actually. Which isn't, and I think I read this. I don't think I read this the year that it won. Right. I feel like this is something that I've read since. So, that's Rose Tremain's Home? No, The Road Home. Home is the book that's coming next, which, and I have to say we both really like that book, but there was a little bit that I found problematic. So next up is Home by Marilynne Robinson. So I need to confess about this one. I didn't finish this the first time I read it, and it was when it won. Right. And I tried Gilead and failed, and then I tried this and failed. There is something about her writing at that time. Now bear in mind I would have been, so 2009, I would have been 27. I'd only got back into reading a couple of years before. I don't know if this was just ahead of where I was as a reader, if that makes sense. But I just, because it's so much about religion, that also really bored me. Okay. So, but we were talking about this. We're going to do a video of our top 5 Women's Prize books in October. Women's Prize winners, sorry. And I will have reread Home by then because I haven't had a chance because I've been judging the prize. But I did dip into it, and the writing I liked more this time. Over to you, Louise. You've read it very recently.
I did read it quite recently, and I had never read anything by her, and I have now ordered some more of her books, so that says something. I thought it was wonderful. It moved me in a way that books rarely do. In fact, both of these books I found profoundly moving. I know that religion is important in this book, but I wouldn't describe it as a book about religion at all, actually.
I think maybe that's the Gilead is a bit more...
Yeah, maybe. For me, it was a book about familial relationships and the power of those, and the ties between people when they have genetics in common. And it was also, I just found it really honest and really totally plausible. And it's one of those novels that I think is, the pace of it is very slow. Not an awful lot happens, really. You know, there isn't a strong plot line, but the characters and what they're grappling with was completely fascinating. I mean, her brother, the main character, I've forgotten her name. That's awful. I can't remember her name.
Jack's the prodigal son.
Jack's
Glory.
Her brother. Yes, I think so.
Glory's
yes,
the sister who's returned.
Yeah, she's looking after their elderly father, and Jack is her elder brother, I think, who's sort of disappeared for years, and obviously has a really troubled past. He's an alcoholic, and he suddenly returns home out of the blue, and it's about that and how he wrestles with his own issues, and just the it's a book about unconditional love, and I just found it beautiful.
She liked it.
I liked it a lot.
I think we can tell that she liked it. So I need to give this a whirl again. And also, did you find it's interesting because you hadn't read Gilead?
No.
And that's its prequel, sort
of. Didn't matter. She's just, hasn't she just...
Jack is just about to come
Jack?
out. Yeah. And there's also, I think there's another one post this one.
Which will be his backstory, presumably.
I think so, but I think there's another one after Home. Housekeeping separate from all of them.
Right.
And then I think there is one other one that she had out. I can't remember what it's called, but I know there was another one. Yeah. So there we go. Right, another time for Simon to confess. The Lacuna.
You've been a very naughty boy.
I have.
So, to put you on the naughty
but part of the reason, and I just want to say this, because some people will probably try and, what's the word? Not troll. What's the word? Drag me for saying this. But I haven't read much of this yet, and partly because... we talked about this in our Women's Prize winner prediction video around another certain book. Because this is fun, and because I know I did have technically a deadline, but because I was doing it because I've been judging a prize, I don't like forcing myself through a book. I don't think it's good for me, and I don't think it's good for the book. So, and also with this one, what's been really funny is, so The Lacuna by Barbara Kingsolver. Barbara Kingsolver was one of my grand's favourite novelists. I think The Poison Bible was one of her favourite books of all time. Now, she famously reviewed this on my blog and absolutely slated it. And every time I pick it up, I've got, Gran hated this in my mind, which is really odd because it's like the spirit of her is there. Oh. But also, I will say, it bombards you with information very early on.
Yes,
and
it does.
Don't like that with books.
Oh, okay.
I need to be be beguiled. She's not
I've
beguiled.
Still got that scene of him swimming in that underwater cave so vividly in my head from the beginning of the novel.
So I'm now handing this over to Mum to talk about again, because I can't really say anything other than the writing seems all right to me. I've not read any Barbara Kingsolver before. I just feel it's a lot, and she's skipping through a lot of characters very quickly, which when you get into a big chunky book like this and you love it, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that The Spirit of Gran just backs off a little bit,
Yeah.
Dorothy, and
You see, I thought I really enjoyed reading this book, and I was really glad that I don't know whether I would have done if I hadn't been reading it for this situation.
Oh really?
So I'm really glad I have, because what I loved about it was it's one of those books where you suddenly find yourself in a place and a time that you realise you know nothing about. And I like the fact that Harrison, the sort of main character in the novel, there are all sorts of massive sort of historical events building around him. It's the run up to the Second World War, and he meets Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo, who I didn't know much about at all. I mean, I knew about Frida's paintings, but and their sort of connections with Trotsky, who was exiled in Mexico City. So all that sort of aspect of history that I had no idea that Trotsky ended up there. I mean, I just found that breathtaking. So what this novel does, which I think is brilliant, is it does teach you about history. It is a history book, I think. It's almost like non-fiction, to the point where I actually went to look up if this man actually existed. Of course he doesn't. And I think that's really clever, to place a character and surround him by true historical events, which have obviously been very well researched, and then to put that in fiction form, I think is just overwhelmingly clever and interesting. And I loved it. I mean, I was lucky because I had plenty of time to read it, and it is the sort of novel I feel that you need to have time to read.
So do you therefore think, even though I've not met our deadline, I was right to not rush it?
Yes, I do. And I think you'll really enjoy, there's a relationship that he has later on in the novel with his stenographer, which I just thought was beautifully written.
Okay. Well, I'm intrigued. So there we go, the Lacuna. And as always, we'd love your thoughts in the comments down below.
Read it.
I can ask her.
Because she's a massive Frida Kahlo fan,
Yeah.
isn't she? I'd love to know what she thinks about it.
Well, if you're on the Instagram live with us,
oh yeah, I
if
can
you
ask
join
her.
us, you can ask.
Yeah, I'll try to
Unless
do
I
that.
ignore that question.
Work permitting.
So, and then finally for this video, and this is the 2011 winner, this is The Tiger's Wife, and again, confession time. I read this the year it came out. Now, I can't remember what it was up against, but I think I had a bit of a bee in my bonnet that it was up against something that I really wanted to win.
Interesting to know.
So, and I can't look because it's on my phone, which we're filming on, because I still film on my phone, unlike most other booktubers who have special cameras and all sorts. I can't be bothered. What I do remember loving about this is the magical elements. However, they also went a bit over my head. I think it was magical realism that I hadn't quite experienced before, even though it's sort of fairy tale and does link into fairy tales in my head of my memory. But that's what's going to be interesting, because this is 9 years later, so the memories that I have are very different. But I started reading this again and I was absolutely loving it. So I'm really, really looking forward to rereading this. Mum.
I've finished this week, I think.
We should say what it's about, shouldn't we?
Yeah, so it's set in the Balkans. I don't think you can pinpoint it on a map. I suspect that I'm not sure, but I think that the town and everything are fictional, but it's picking up on the tensions in that part of the world. And I suppose it's about a young woman whose grandfather has recently died, and she is trying to sort of unstitch his life, and there are various mysteries surrounding his whereabouts, and
Magical tiger.
And a magical tiger, or is it?
Yeah.
And also the tiger's wife obviously is a key character in the story, and she's alienated from her community. So it's a book about community tensions, it's a book about prejudice, it's a book about all of those sorts of things. But again, it's distinctive from all the other Women's Prize winners because it has the feeling of a fable. And I know that in the Balkans there's a very, very strong tradition of oral storytelling, that idea of handing down stories by word of mouth. It's one of the last communities in Europe, really. There are still people in that part of the world who can tell epic stories.
And is that not part of the relationship because the grandfather told
exactly.
granddaughter stories?
Yeah, so it's about storytelling, but also I felt like I was snuggled up on somebody's knee and they were telling the story to me. It's got that. It's the style of writing that does that.
It's almost like it's being told literally in your ear.
It is, yeah, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I quite like magical realism. I don't think you're a massive fan.
I like it, but I just
love
have
Isabel
to...
Allende and people like that. I didn't, I enjoyed that aspect of it.
I have to really buy it.
Occasionally, I got a bit lost. Occasionally, I had to kind of go back and reread. So sometimes it didn't knit together as well as I might have liked it to. But I'm really glad I've read it, and I think it's a fabulous book. She's so young as well.
I know. She's very young. I think she might have been the youngest to win it.
Right.
I think.
Wouldn't surprise me.
So yeah. So there we go.
Well worth a read.
Those are those four. Would you be interested in reading her second novel, Inland? Because it's finally come out.
Yeah,
which is country western. Ever since I've read How Much of These Hills Is Gold by C. Pam Zhang, which I would really, really like to be on the long list next year, and possibly the shortlist and possibly win, but I haven't read everything else that it would be up against, obviously. Although it would be up against Hamnet, so let's all move on. But no, it wouldn't. Hamnet was this year, so I'm talking rubbish. I've really got into the idea of trying a few more country and westerns, and I think with Inland she does the same thing. It's a little bit off kilter, a bit quirky.
Have you read Dances with Wolves?
No.
That's a wonderful book.
I really want to read John Boyne's, although the title always makes me laugh. What's it called? The Company of the Rough Riders or something, which just sounds a little bit odd. But anyway, so those are 13 to 16 in winners' terms. Let us know your thoughts on them in the comments down below. And like we said, we will be doing our top favourites later in the year. And it'd be lovely, actually, in the lead-up if you let us know. Maybe not this video, maybe not the next one, but maybe the sort of last one, which we didn't actually mention in that video because, like I said, we pre-recorded that, which your favourites have been. But I'll try and leave that in a note at the bottom of that one. So yeah, so there we go. We're going to just stop, take a photo of ourselves with this books, and then record the next 4. But until my next video, it's goodbye from me, and until the next video that we're about to record,
it's goodbye from me as well.
We'll see you all soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.